This is a Main Hustle Media podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Jackie O and you're listening to Militantly Mixed.
Yo, this is Rashani from the Single Simulcast. And when I'm not making you laugh or making up parody songs, I'm kicking back, listening to Militantly Mixed.
Main Hustle Media podcasts are recorded on the ancestral lands of the Chumash, Tongva, Karankawa, and Hohokam people, and I wish to pay my respects to the people of those nations, both past and present.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to Militantly Mixed, a podcast about race and identity from the mixed race perspective. I am your Sir Auntie, Sharmane Fury, and this is the 14th edition of the Mixed Auntie Confidential with myself and fellow auntie,
Mixed Auntie TaRessa Stovall. Hey, y'all.
Yeah, I think I've been the build up to the anniversary has been like da, 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 go, and now that that's passed and it's a couple days ago, my brain's no longer functioning.
That's okay. We're gonna kickstart your brain because we have a very brain tingling topic.
Tingle the brains.
Let's tingle and tickle the brains, y'all. So this topic is my fault, y'all. Okay, I take responsibility. So here's the deal. I'm just gonna be real. So okay, all y'all listening, if you know me, if you don't know me, remember I'm a boomer. Okay, I'm a bluish Black Jewish boomer, mixed. Okay, so as a boomer, I have a millennial son and daughter, and I'm privileged to be able to work and be friends with Sharmane, who's one of my guides through life. Okay, no exaggeration, especially when it comes to anything under the LGBTQIA plus. Don't y'all add no more letters, it's gonna be too much umbrella. I'm like, y'all just say the alphabet. After a while we all just gonna be singing the whole alphabet. But anyway, which is fine, but it's a lot. Anyway, on the real. So y'all bear with me here. So I'm a boomer, straight up. Okay, I'm from the West Coast. I grew up actually a very LGBTQIA environment, which was also racially mixed, multicultural, and all those other things from the left coast. But I am fascinated by, and personally, unlike some of my fellow boomers, very inspired by what y'all youngins are doing with smashing the gender, sexuality, binary, and the patriarchy. Okay, with the concepts of gender non-conforming, non-binary, with new language, again, the acronym getting longer and longer, all those things. I personally believe, just so you know my politics, I believe are a complete blessing and upgrade for humanity, that it represents the evolution of our species. And I find it invigorating, delightful, exciting, and amazing and great. Okay, so that's where I come from on that. And when I have questions about the specifics, just so y'all know, Maine is my go-to. She's my tutor, my coach. She's patient. She puts up with me, but I don't come at it from a position of resisting it, resenting it, being against it in any kind of way. I just, the language is evolving so fast.
It's usually like, I heard this word.
I'm like, no, wait a minute. Do I say this or do I? What about? And the whole pronoun. I have to tell y'all, the whole pronoun thing. As a generation, we boomers, the whole pronoun thing is a lot, because you're like,
it's a lot for all the generations, I think.
Is it? Okay, good.
Yes.
Well, that's but again, I get it. It's fascinating. It's a whole new layer, and the whole idea. For me, the whole idea that's exciting, I think, Sharmane and family cousins, is agency. That's what's exciting to me, is giving groups of people agency to define themselves. I've always believed that defining yourself is the first act of empowerment, right? And so and so granting yourself that agency, and society, it's coming along. It's not coming along perfectly or necessarily in a speedy fashion, but it is coming along. You see more and more things, gender, male, female, other, non-conforming, prefer not to say, whatever. So you're getting more expansive categories. We have new terms like assigned female at birth, assigned male at birth, all that, right? Yeah. There's, lots of controversy politically, of course, around all these things, and medical services for youth, for trans, and all these kinds of things. But I believe, again, that this all signals an evolution, a massive evolution for humanity, right? For the species, for the planet. Yay. Now y'all know me. Or if you don't know me, you're going to find out. But of course, Malo brain, because I am super, super racially / ethnically ambiguous looking. Because of that, right? Milo brain goes to, well, can we play with any of these concepts or terms? Those of us who are ambiguous looking. And by the way, you can be ambiguous looking in one place, time, context, and not in another.
Right.
There is my thing is, you're ambiguous looking if people don't know and ask what you are.
Yeah.
At least some of the time, regularly.
Yeah. Like you can be a monoracial person exhibiting clear features from one culture, but because the person's never seen anybody that looks like you.
Absolutely.
You
don't have to be mixed to be ambiguous looking. You don't have to be ambiguous looking to be mixed. Howsoever, it seems to me that the more I learn about the mixed people in the mixed world, that probably, right? There are more of us who are ambiguous looking than in general monoracial groups.
I mean, since so many of us get mistaken for Latina, even though those of us who get mistaken for it don't have any Latin ancestry.
None.
There's a whole heap of us that have to deal with ambiguity as a whole ass part of our existence.
As a whole ass part. So can we play with Pheno-Divergent, Pheno-Non-Conforming, Pheno-Fluid, Pheno coming from phenotype, y'all? Right.
So the idea being that in the last, what we've talked about several times, in the last 5 years since doing the show, we've noticed a growth in language, a development, an evolution in the language. Talk about mixed identity, talking about all kinds of things, LGBTQ issues. There's new language involved, trans issues, new language involved, racial issues, new language involved. But for the racially ambiguous, in particular, the racially ambiguous that are mixed, it can be such a point of, it can literally teeter the lines of invalidating validation. Like in one moment, you can go on both of those. It can really just fucking teeter. And a lot of us don't like to be called ambiguous, like, because you live with yourself every day, right? Like, you're like, this is not confusing. I know what this is. But to the outside person, that's the go-to word.
That's it.
And we've talked, actually, one of our very first conversations was about the frustrations of being ambiguous and things like that. Like, it would just be nice sometimes if people could just figure it out. So with that in mind, and like, I really feel like this is the build of the last 3 or 4 years of conversations that you and I have I think it's 3 or 4 years that we've known each other, which does always come down to, like, what do we call ourselves if scenario A? What do we call ourselves if scenario B? And when you hit me up in the message, the text messages about, and it wasn't like, we weren't even talking about everything. It was just like, boom, hit you with, this has been on my mind. Could we play with this idea of Pheno-Divergent, Pheno-Non-Conforming, Pheno-Fluid as a new ways to describe ourselves? And so we're really coming off of nothing else. This is this is the combination of like the 3+ years of conversation we've had about ambiguity, to where you just had a thought bubble pop up and you hit me with your thought bubble. And so we're press record having nothing planned besides being like, do these work?
This is straight off both domes, y'all.
Straight off the dome for both of us. And I remember seeing when you hit it, I liked, I think when you first sent it to me, you said Pheno-Divergent and Pheno-Non-Conforming, and then you go fluid as a question mark. And I kind of like both. Like, I've never heard anybody use anything like this, but I like it because what we've struggled with in conversation on this show and in the world, that whole passing terminology, right?
Oh my God.
And how that's evolved into either presenting or assuming or appearing. And each one of those still are problems for folks because you're still dealing with the burden of presentation is on us and not on the people perceiving us. And so we've gone from all the different terms, ambiguous, perceived, passing,
Yes.
Are we getting closer? Are we tightening it up if we decide to say something like Pheno-Non-Conforming? Well, again, Pheno-Non-Conforming.
Well, that's why I wanted us to play with it in this.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
like Sharmane said, yo, we're playing this in real time. We have not thought this through. I don't have my usual bullet points and talking points and all that. But we're playing with this in real time.
Yeah.
We definitely want you to weigh in and give us your thoughts, comments, reactions. But is there, so here's my premise, y'all. Okay. So for those of us for those people who experience pheno ambiguity, meaning various people in the world, it could be in one group, two groups, many groups. For me, it's everybody, because I'm in a lot of mixed groups. They say, well, white people don't know what I am. Nobody knows what I am. I don't know what I'm in, like, hyper am, right? Same with you. But unlike you, I can also be taken for white. So I can be taken for white.
That's
black,
to me,
for
but
Asian, for Latinx. Yeah, I can be taken for white.
Yeah.
I'm not often taken for white. Sometimes if you just see me, you don't hear me, and there's no interaction, and I'm just in a crowd of people, sure, I might not pop, obviously. But even in terms when I'm around white people, after a while, they start squinting. And, are you Puerto Rican?
You're so exotic.
I mean, yeah, there has never been an interaction with a white person that's been sustained, other than maybe, like transactional, a clerk somewhere.
Sure.
But an actual sustained professional or personal interaction, that even if they thought I was white, and interestingly, white people aren't the main ones who will think I'm white. They're not.
Well, yeah.
Other groups, but I haven't tallied it. I wish I tallied this throughout the years, y'all, so I could do an infographic. But just trust me when I say everybody thinks I'm everything.
Right.
Okay.
It's only happened to me 2 times in my entire life that somebody thought I was white.
Right. Like because you're not phenotypically, we're different. We're the same, but we're different. We're similar, but we're different. So I say that because I think I'm the whole rainbow of ambiguity. So the idea, so here's my thing. So every single person I encounter, and this is true to different degrees for us in different ways, right? Mm-hmm. Every single person I encounter in the world either wonders, asks, or assumes, and sometimes they assign me an identity. Mm-hmm. I'm almost 70 years old, y'all. People have been looked at me and guessed correctly twice.
Like Black Jewish?
Yes. Okay. Of the tens of thousands, once as a child, and I think that person was Puerto Rican. All I remember, it was in my elementary school lunch cafeteria. I don't remember anything other than being so floored that they were right that it stuck in my mind. And the other, if you've heard of the makeup line, Bobby Brown, mm-hmm. I lived in the small northern New Jersey town where she lives. And I used to work for the newspaper. I interviewed her for a story. We ended up being friends, by the way. She's a fabulous person and very, very cool. And at the time, one of her sons was dating a mixed girl at the high school, mm-hmm. and my kids went to the high school. I interviewed her for the newspaper story. And at the end of the story, that's a woman who's been a major cosmetics mogul for decades, right? And she looks at me and she goes, so what are you? Right? And she's Jewish, by the way. Her name is Roberta Plofkin. But what are you? Her maiden name is Brown. I said, guess. I was still in that phase of life. And she said, oh, yeah, black and Jewish, bluish. Like, that's exactly how long it took her. And I thought, well, I guess for somebody who makes up names for foundations and eyeshadows.
Right, yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Now, I don't know how she knew. Okay. I wasn't all over the internet with my identity at that point like I am now. And I wasn't yet on social media. But the point is, 2 times, y'all, in 68 and a half years, of the tens of thousands of times, people have looked at me and say, yeah, black and Jewish, clearly. Okay. And I'm like, okay. But the point is, so off of me, but the reason this is something I like to play with in my brain. I'm like, well, if I can just, if the world is in what's happening in the world now is I can announce to the world that my gender identity is changing. I haven't decided, or I've made a different choice, or I'm playing with different options and alternatives. Right? Which again is an incredibly exciting, intriguing idea to me. It doesn't happen to I think I'm cis hetero, or is that the term now? Which is, you know, in all things considered pretty boring, but that's okay. That's all right. I got enough going on with my identity that I'm not looking for a new, but I'm just saying I'm real straight up, whatever. Okay. Yay. But so my brain goes to I remember the first time I was asked for pronouns, y'all. It was to register for a conference it's called Race Forward, right? All about racial this and racial that. In this conference, I registered ahead of time, but this conference took place 3 days after Trump was elected in 2016, y'all, in Atlanta, where I am. It was crazy. But there on the form, it says, what are your pronouns? I didn't understand the question. This is 2016, 7 years ago. I did not I was like, what are my pronouns? Like, I didn't this is only 7 years ago.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't even think about there being a time when people wouldn't have known how to answer the question, not like a resistance to answering it for political reasons, but like just straight up not knowing how to answer the question.
Like, what is that? And I think I called somebody or emailed somebody and asked, and they said your gender pronouns. And I said, what? Like, it was brand new, y'all, to me. Okay. Yeah. Remember, I'm a boomer. Give me patience. Okay. So I also went to my job that day, told people about this, and they laughed at me, ridiculed me, and told me I was crazy. But anyway, white folks. So I'm just saying, I laugh now. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you on a whole nother page now. But anyway, so once I learned, I was like, okay, it still felt weird. At this conference, which is all about anti-racism and racial diversity, an incredibly diverse crowd, your name tag said your name, whatever your affiliation was, and then your pronouns. I'm thinking, I have never once been asked anything about my gender identity. Shouldn't Black and Jewish be on this name tag? This is a racial. That's my brain, y'all. I don't apologize.
Oh, I remember you talking about this. And I was just like, under that circumstance, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, to me, under that circumstance, this is all about racial everything. And I'm like, why, you know, and then they had a unisex bathroom, which I used and all that. But the point is, I mean, I'm comfortable with all that, but I was like, it was new 7 years ago, y'all, 2016. Okay. It was still new for at least for people like me. Point is, you know, so if you're super ambiguous or ambiguous at any level, you're kind of ambiguous, medium, you know, we know there's layers and levels, and it depends on time, place, and everything else. Yeah. Crowd you're with, what you look like that day. I can change my hair, you know, get a little
literally, right? Like an outfit sometimes.
An outfit, a color. My friends in high school, if you wear red, you look more Black. I'm like, okay. So that I register that I'd wear red. But okay, so is there a place and time? And I want us to just play with this, y'all. I'm not proposing it. I'm not starting a new rule.
We're putting it up to the vote at the end of the show. We all know.
We might, if we come to this. Yes, Sharmane and I might decide. But is there, you know, can we do something comparable for those of us who's at least our phenotype is ambiguous? Because like I tell people, and like you do too, I know, this is the only thing about me that's ambiguous. My identity has never in my life fluctuated.
I'm not confused.
Right. I've always known, and it ain't changed in 70 years. Like, and it's not going to change. But I understand that people look at me and don't know. Yeah. Okay. So that to me is ambiguous. They don't know. And so is Pheno-Divergent. So for me, I might say.
Well, let's try to divine these real fast.
Okay. Let's
just to see. So the idea of Pheno-Divergent. Diverting off of the anticipated phenotypes.
Yeah. Now, and think about this. Most phenotypes are straight up monoracial.
Right.
But we also know that in recent years, there's, y'all, and this is controversial, no question. There's a stereotypical, tends to be a Black, white, biracial woman, young, stereotype that has, and of course it's part of it's a stereotype because it's so prevalent in media, advertising, entertainment, people who get cast in movies and TV shows, right? So the images we see, there's a definite, right, almost stereotype. Like you can
Yeah.
kind of line these various models and actors and actresses up.
Yeah.
There's a look that even if you're not mixed or biracial, right? There's a look that's considered kind of the mainstream. Yeah.
Right. Halle Berry, Alicia Keys.
Halle Berry, Alicia Keys, you can do Tracy, you can do Rashida. I mean, there's a spectrum, but Rashida doesn't really fall in it because you've got to have some curly.
Yeah.
Anybody got no straight hair? You got curly hair, you're kind of brown, you know.
Rashida's a person that looks blacker the more black people she stands next to. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the fewer black people she stands around, the less obvious.
Rashida is, I consider Rashida like me. She is super, first of all, with the same mix. She is super ambiguous looking.
Super, yeah.
But look at her name. I'm like, first of all, you know who daughter she is. And she got one of the blackest names in all of Hollywood.
Right.
That's all I got. Her name is Rashida Jones, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Like, what about that?
I mean, it's kind of like me for non-black people. Like, they see my name and they're like, if they can't, if black wasn't on the roster of the ideas that they thought I might be while they're going through their it gets there eventually, I think, because of my name.
Because of your name. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But like Rashida Jones, I'm like,
definitely get that.
She got a black name, but she's hyper ambiguous looking. I mean, she basically looks a lot like her mom.
She does. She looks like her mom with the tan.
Right, her mom with the tan. So, but okay, y'all. So you go ahead and lead. So Pheno-Divergent's the first one we're playing with.
So yeah, Pheno-Divergent. We're diverting off of what the anticipated phenotype given what we're told about the person's race, I guess. We're making and I think you using that particular type of black, white, biracial stereotype as an example is pretty good because yes, in media, when they're looking for a mixed woman, that's the type, that's the phenotype. They're
not picking you or me.
They're not picking you or me, right?
At all.
Basically, if a white person wouldn't be able to guess that I was black, I'm not going to be cast in a black role,
right?
Or a mixed black person's role, right? So you get someone like a Tracy Ellis Ross or a Halle Berry or Alicia Keys or something like that. They're diverting in small, subtle ways, right? Alicia Keys has freckles, which aren't usually assigned. The idea is not necessarily always assigned to black folks, and so you look at her and you're like, how does she have freckles? Maybe, and then you go down the thing. Maybe she has a white parent. Da, 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 da. Halle Berry, I think it's more in sort of like the light skin aspect.
Yeah, Halle Berry. I wouldn't see Halle Berry and assume mixed.
I wouldn't necessarily either.
It's a possibility, but I wouldn't assume it.
Tracy, I would assume it off of the vibes.
Really?
Yes.
But just visually, you wouldn't.
Visually, not necessarily, but like some of the behaviors.
Some kind of North African.
Right. Especially when she pulls her hair back. She definitely has a
she's definitely, I mean, so she's black and Jewish, so she got what I call the Afro-Semitic aesthetic.
Afro-Semitic. Oh, that's a good one too. Man, I love the hybrid terms for us.
And I don't have it, but I have it in airports, but that's a whole nother
but I mean, that's a whole there's being mixed and then there's being mixed at an airport, and these are different things.
That's a whole episode. That's an episode.
We can do a whole episode on that. So then you get to someone like them, and it's way subtler how you would be able to classify necessarily them as Pheno-Divergent. You get to someone like me, and now Pheno-Divergent starts to make a lot of sense because I come at you as a mixed black person. Right. I will tell you the rest of my mix. The rest of my mix includes Asian and, white, whatever, blah, blah. But I'm coming at you as a mixed black person. That is my main part of my identity hierarchically. If you're black and you see me, you're like, okay, I see it. If you're not black and you see me, you're like, Latina or Filipino. And
I would totally read you as Filipino or Samoan.
Right.
But that's because I'm from the West Coast.
But why is that happening? Is because whether people think it or not, they are detecting the black.
Right, because they're both Samoans.
So they're pulling from ethnicities that have black
Good point.
in there somewhere back.
Good
with
point.
Filipinos and with Samoans and other Pacific Islanders, it's because
Malaysian,
Africans left and went into the Pacific Islanders, mixed with people, and became that thing.
Point
so they're still there. It's still there. That's why people are picking it up on me. Latina, same type of thing. Africa, indigenous folks, Spaniards, all mixed together, and you get someone who might have my complexion and probably has a mix of Black features and non-Black features. And so that's why I get coded as this, because whether people realize it,
you'd get coded more Black if you had a different hair texture.
If my hair, and there are times when my hair texture does make somebody trick them into thinking I have a more Black hair texture, and that all has to do with the way I style it. It usually has to do with when I flat iron my hair, because fun fact, my hair is straight. It gets a little bit wavy as it grows longer, but it's mostly bone straight Asian textured hair.
Your Asian hair, yeah.
But when I flat iron it and it holds, it looks like Black hair flat ironed.
See? All these nuances, y'all.
So I think for me, I think Pheno-Divergent would make sense, because I'm definitely diverting off of different things that you expect. I have almond shape eyes. I don't have Asian shaped eyes, right? I have an eyelid fold, so I'm not like gonna be able to trick you into thinking I'm more Asian. That being said, there is something Asian about me, and people can't place it. So then they end up going down the thing. So I think I would probably be someone that could probably own Pheno-Divergent in a way, because if I tell you, if you don't see me yet, and I say, okay, we're going to mate on the corner of such and such and such and such, I'm going to wear a purple shirt, and I am the Black Japanese British American. You're going to have...
You're not telling them. They don't know what they're looking for.
They don't know what they're looking for, right? And if they saw me on the corner, would they have been able to clock me against any other random person on the corner if all they were to go off of is, I am Black, Japanese, and white. Let's just make it easy for them. I'm a Black, Japanese, and white person, and I'll be standing on the corner in a purple t-shirt. And everybody on the corner happens to be wearing a purple t-shirt. How are they going to?
It depends who else is on the corner with you. And where you are. So I feel you. Yeah.
Depending on what they think when they hear the ideas of there's a Black, Japanese, white mixed person on the corner, I might be answering some of those questions for them with my face, and I might not be. And so I would be diverting off of what their anticipations are. I think that might be the right way to define this term.
So Pheno-Divergent is diverting
off of expected
phenotype. Yeah.
For a given category.
Okay, I'm writing it down.
Now we move on to Pheno-Non-Conforming.
That might be me.
That might be you.
Yeah.
And what I'm thinking of, and tell me if we're on the same page about this, is that I think you might have the kind of structure or whatever that if you turn this way, people see something. And if you turn this way, people see something else. Mm-hmm. And then you straight on, they see something else. Or if you do an activity, they see something else. Or if your hair is up, or if your hair is down, or this or that or whatever, right? Absolutely. And so because if I hear this person is Black and Jewish, I have 3 different images that pop into my head immediately. And just because of me doing this show so much, I have someone who looks like Eric Andre. He's light skinned, but he's got kind of a wild afro, but it's not a fully fledged afro because it's mixed hair. He's a comedian.
I don't know him. I got David Diggs.
David Diggs. Okay, so David Diggs would be a different version of the Eric Andre. All right, I'm about to say it, and I'm just gonna say it. Eric Andre is the Black Jewish kid who was raised by Jewish side of his family, and they never figured out his hair.
There's a lot of folk like that.
David Diggs is a Black Jewish person who they figured out his hair.
Yeah, or somebody.
So like both of those images, like this actually illustrates very well. Like if Eric Andre, David Diggs, and then someone like someone like you, or I've had another guest on the show, Rebecca, who is Black Jewish Cuban
Oh,
Black
oh,
Jewish,
oh,
Cuban Black Jewish.
oh.
Okay.
Cute bluish.
Bluish. Bluish. She literally would turn her head during and that's from the Ethnic Chameleon episode from a couple years ago. She would literally, she's an actress and a singer. She's been on Broadway recently. She's dope. She would literally turn her head, and I would see a Cuban woman, a Black woman, and a Jewish woman throughout the conversation. And every time she did it, I'd go, "Oh my God, you just changed race!" Like, I remember thinking, like, she just changed a thing. And so I think that's the same light, like, because she's lighter skin, you know, whatever. She's got really curly hair. She might be mistaken for white. She might be mistaken for, if not mistaken, but she might be mistaken for the wrong category of Latina.
Well, she's like me.
Than what she is, right?
Basically, so, we always gonna be mistaken.
You're gonna be mistaken for something.
Yes.
And so I think they're like, those are the images that come to mind of like how someone is Black and Jewish. For me, given the people who I've had on the show, like, honestly, that's really kind of how it's developed over time. And like David Diggs or Eric Andre would probably go into the Pheno-Divergent, or just some people would just say they're Black, they're just light skinned.
Yeah.
You know,
like Drake.
Yeah, another one. Whereas like someone like you, or like Rebecca, who I mentioned, poor thing, doesn't even know I'm like, hey, I'm bringing you up on my show.
Yo, Rebecca.
Would be a person that, like, if I hear I'm gonna meet you on the corner, I'm a Black and Jewish woman, and I have curly Black hair.
Yeah. That
could be, like, literally could describe both of you, and yet both of you don't look and even remotely the same,
right?
But that general thing could describe both of you. And if I walked up on the street and I saw both of you, I'd be like, well, fuck. You know, there's at least two people.
God, what are we doing?
So I think it's like, it's not conforming.
You would just think I was Puerto Rican, girl.
Anyway, that, you know, we're all Puerto Ricans in our heart. Exactly. Where I think there's something like, not an expectation of what you look like necessarily.
Well,
but kind of.
Well, there is. And I think too, to build on what you just said, first of all, let's acknowledge and let's celebrate, even though there's nuances, and this could be a future ep too, of increased mixed representation, again, in media. And I'm a media person. So, you know, again, advertising and casting and even storylines now in TV and movies, right? There's more than there's ever been. And I say that because I've yet to see somebody who's super ambiguous in a mixed role, and that being part of the story, right? So of course I'm putting that in stories I'm writing, but anyway, so what you're saying is interesting because you've got the different people, right? And people can, again, there's so much, and there's so much subjectivity in how we're read. There's so much subject. My kids are ambiguous looking. Their dad's Black. Their race is Black. They're light skinned. As I've said, you're light skinned, racially ambiguous looking Black people. But most people think they're biracial. Most 99% biracial or different races: Samoan, Thai, Latine, Dominican,
Yeah,
the whole nine. They're super ambiguous. I think so. What we're talking about, I think, with non-conforming is when I tell you what I am, you're not going to go, okay, I see it. Nobody has ever said, oh, okay, I see that. Nobody has ever said that to me, y'all. Again, I'm talking about tens of
except for Bobby Brown.
Right. Bobby Brown, and that, I think he was Puerto Rican. I don't even know who he was at my elementary school. I was a small child.
He's just a person that impacted your life.
I don't know how I knew he was Puerto Rican, because I'm in Seattle. There wasn't no Puerto Rican. So again, I don't even know. But, you know, it was one of those impressions without detail. But yes, except for Bobby Brown. Shout out to my girl Bobby. I'll tag her when we do that.
So I think with the Pheno-Non-Conforming, what you might be thinking of is, if I say I'm Black and Jewish, and they think like David Diggs, and you'd be like
Tracy Ellis Ross.
Like Tracy Ellis Ross, and you would be like, no.
Well,
yeah,
yes,
but no.
Like by them, but I don't look like them.
Yeah.
You're not gonna, if you have to go through a crowd of people and point and say, okay, who's Black and Jewish in this crowd? And you might, you might not pick Lauren Linden. You might not pick Kat Graham. You might not pick Kaylee Hawk. These are all actors, by the way. You might not pick Boris Kodjoe. Okay. All these people. I just
Jewish or German?
Both.
Oh, it's German Jewish?
Yeah.
God.
So, but again, I just happen to, y'all know, obsessively celebrities who are bluish because,
there's actually a lot. Like, if we're really going to break it down as far as how many mixed people are out there, there's a ton of Black Jewish mixed folks out there.
Because LA.
Yeah.
And Hollywood and all that. But that's a whole nother. But again, so yeah, I think I'm Pheno-Non-Conforming, meaning I am, I'm not what I look like and I don't look like what I am.
It's not like they're not basically the same thing happening. It's just, I think it's probably the intention of the perceiver that changes which one it is, right?
It's their frame of reference.
Yeah, you're like in my case, I'm diverting from what they expect when they think of a Black person and a Japanese person and a British person. In your case, like
I'm diverting from whatever they think I am. I'm not conforming to their whatever they think I am.
Yeah, and so so Pheno-Divergent might be like the viewers perceiving you are not fitting into what I'm expecting. Pheno-Non-Conforming is I'm actively not trying to be what you think I am.
No, I'm actively not what you think I am.
I'm actively not what you think I am.
Whatever you think I am, you're wrong.
You're wrong. Whatever it is, you're wrong. And even if you guess right, you're probably still guessing wrong because you have a different idea in your head of what that's supposed to be like.
Yes.
I don't know, something like that. So that one's a little bit harder. Actually, I think they're similar, but I think one is from your perspective and one is from their perspective. Is probably
okay. So I like,
or that you can use them interchangeably because I think that's also a possibility. They might be pretty interchangeable. It might be a preference thing. Like I like to hear it this way. Because one feels like I think this is also the difference between like passing, presenting, assumed, presumed, right? One puts the onus on the person being existing and the other one puts the onus on the person making the guess.
Yes.
And I don't want to conform with the person making the guess and therefore Pheno-Non-Conforming. That actually makes a little bit more sense. Again, this is real time. We're working this out. Yeah. Whereas like with Pheno-Divergent, that is putting the burden on me because you have an expectation and I'm diverting from it, but I'm not actively diverting from it. I'm just existing. So maybe that's the difference of how we choose to use it, which is why it's still hard to figure out passing, presumed, assumed, appearing, because
I think non-divergent just means let go of all your expectations. I'm not gonna fit your expectations.
I'm not gonna fit it. Yeah.
Right.
Because the thing is, the more, and this is actually something I think you and I share, regardless of what you thought we were when you met us, the more you meet us, the more you are convinced of our Blackness. And the less we have to, if we have to at all, the least we have to convince Black folks we're Black. if I'm being honest,
I've never had to
convince a Black person I was Black.
I've never had to convince a Black person I was Black. Every once in a while, a Black person they'll be very distracted by my phenotype.
Sure,
they'll be very distracted by that, and a lot of it has to do with where they're from geographically, whether it's within the United States or outside. And just nuances in their background. But I have never I've never had a Black person just be like, no, you ain't Black.
I mean, usually it's literally like I open my mouth. And even if I'm wearing a mask and you can't figure it out, like what happened to me the other day, though, this was the second time in my whole life someone thought for a second I might be white. I was getting out of the Uber. And she said to me, when I saw you get out of the Uber, I saw you she just saw me coming out. Like I had like a little strappy maxi dress thing. She just saw that. And she's like, and you had a hat on. And she's like, maybe that's a white lady. And then you turned around, but you were wearing a mask. And I thought, and then I asked you, she like, I was at least ambiguous enough for her to ask, am I going to the Black thing? So it lasted a split second. but that was because she only saw me from like my tattoo up and the back of my head, and I had a hat on.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't have enough to go off of. She didn't have my face. She said to me once I took off my mask, she's like, oh, that answered all the questions she had. But up until then, she was still trying to figure out what my deal was, because I did say I was going to the black thing, and I had my mask on, and I was wearing a dress that covered my shape, because that's the other part. My shape also answers the questions that people might have. If they're looking at me from behind, almost 100% of the time, they are not surprised to find out that I'm black. So,
right.
boom.
Right. It's all those things, y'all. It is all those things.
But like, I've had a manicurist before. I'm wearing a mask the whole time and stuff like that. And so she was trying to ask me questions without directly asking me. And she's like, where are you from? And when black people ask that question, you don't think they're asking you like, what are you? You think they're asking you like, what do you rep?
Negro geography.
Yeah, Negro geography. And so I was like, I'm from Long Beach. And she was like, okay. So in her head, she's like, all right, Long Beach. Because I also say Long Beach the way that I say it. I don't say, God, how do you say it in the other way?
You don't even know. Girl, you don't even know.
Like,
like, act like you know, because you don't even know.
It's the way that I say it that is clearly the black pronunciation of the word, of the two words combined. Long Beach.
Yes.
So there was that, and then there was the way that I spoke, and then at some point it ended up coming up like, what do I do, or something like that. I said I host a podcast for Mixed Identity or whatever, and then I was like, I could see the question churning. I was like, I'm black and Japanese. She's like, I knew there was some flavor in there. So the whole time she was asking me strategic Negro questions to try to figure out if that's what I was. And then when I finally just admitted it out loud to her, it just confirmed the things that she was already suspicious of. Versus when white people do it, they're not specifically suspicious. You know, they're not like, I think this person is a black person in hiding. They're, you know, or at least not to me. Well, they're like, what island does this person come off of?
Right. They're trying to ID you.
Yeah.
The black person is, if a black person suspects blackness, they're ferreting it out.
Yeah. And it's really kind of like, what kind of black are you?
What kind of black are you? And where in
geographically,
how are you black?
How are you black?
How are you black?
And like, I mean, one of the things that I've said, the way that I get asked to confirm my blackness by black folks is usually not in a way that tells me they didn't think I was black in the beginning. It's either you black, which we've all heard, and it literally just is not a question, it's a statement.
Yeah.
And then you say yes, and they go, that's so, and they move on with their life. My favorite way a black person asks me if I'm black is mom or dad. No other question, no other context, nothing else before then, but they just roll up on you. You know, I've gotten it so many times where they'll just roll up and they'll be like, mom or dad? And I'm like, dad. And they're like, I thought so. And then they move on with their life because they didn't.
Again. So we're gonna create a whole scale. So your blackness, I think we can agree. For you, your blackness is the most obvious things to people who recognize it, because to me, your features and your
kind.
Your face is very black. Your features are very, your features, right, are very black. Now, not only black, but I'm going to immediately read you on the brown black spectrum. I am not immediately red. People might think I'm black Japanese before they think you are.
That's wild, but I get it. I like when you told me someone thought you were Korean once.
People
I was like,
think people think I am Asian all the time. I'm like, do I really?
I think it's because I've seen you in person that it's confusing to me, and because I'm also a mixed person and a mixed black Asian, but separate from all of those things, like
if you didn't know me,
I kind of get it, but also kind of don't get it.
Well, I'll tell you why I get it. And I started getting it when I was very young in Seattle. This is funny, y'all. Here, boomer humor, but it's true. When I would get it in Seattle as a boomer teenager, I would get it when I smoked weed and my eyes got tight. I'm not lying. Black people be like, dang, girl. I don't know if they still have, I don't know if weed still gives people tight eyes, but anyway, that was back in the day. Okay. I'm just being honest. So that was a big deal though. And I'd be like, yeah, haha. Okay. Lately, many people, and on and off during the years, many people think I'm Asian. I'm going to tell you why I think it is. For those of you who can't see me, Okay, and especially now, I still have, it's gotten a little better, but I'm not at Sharmane's level since I'm not in her hammock in Mexico with a pool. But
yeah,
I have
my
pandemic
winter coat
pallor.
has faded.
But even when I don't have pandemic pallor, I'm super light skinned, y'all. I'm super light. I am on the end of the spectrum of light skinned. Okay, and so I have my coloring
Milky.
is super light skin and very dark hair. It's brown, but it looks black.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
so
not
in
straight, but it
East
looks
Asian like skin tones, we refer to your skin tone as milky.
Okay. Anyway, okay. Milky.
That's what my mom is, and that's what my aunts are. They're milky.
Okay,
and I
milky.
didn't get the milky. I got
No, you're not milky.
brown.
You got cafe au lait. You got the Creole. But
I'm butterscotch.
Butterscotch. Okay. Well, I'm almond. Okay. The inside of the almond, not the outside of the almond. Unless I got a tan. But the point is exactly, I can see why just looking at my coloring much more than yours, I can be read as Asian, meaning, to be real honest with you, yellow black.
Yeah, yellow black.
Yellow skin, black hair.
If someone does think I'm Asian, and this is like the negative stereotype version of it, they'll say like, "Are you a jungle Asian or a city Asian?" And I would be classified as a jungle Asian because I'm brown.
Yep.
Even though I'm an East Asian.
Well, brown and then your features.
And my features, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, y'all, I can get that. And again, we'll do a whole ep on why we all look Puerto Rican. But so I have an idea. Okay, so we're still playing with this, y'all, and we'll be, come to my blog and we'll do infographics and all stuff. But so Pheno-Fluid.
Pheno-Fluid.
My first thought of Pheno-Fluid is a person who deliberately pimps the ambiguity, either in a way so you have no idea and they don't want you to, or so they do little things to manipulate your perception in one direction. So if I was walking around with the Star of David on, which I don't do, or a chai, people don't always know what a chai is. They think it's a lamb. But if I were walking around with the Star of David, for instance, then people would immediately see that, because everybody knows instantly. Everybody on the planet instantly knows what a mug of David
Symbols
is.
are very helpful for classification.
You ain't wearing that if you ain't Jewish, some kind of way, right? So
unlike an Asian tattoo, which you would wear if you're not Asian.
I always wonder about those. I'm like, you don't know what, especially when an Asian person did the tattoo. I said, you really don't know what that's saying.
Oh,
right?
yeah. There's a lot of prostitutes that think they're princesses and shit like that.
The Polynesian, I'm like, Mike Tyson, I'm like, baby, is that appropriation? Is that appropriation? Is that your tribe? What are we doing? Yeah. But anyway, yes, all those things. But I think Pheno-Fluid is the people who, and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way, and I happen to know people like this, who play on the ambiguity. I'm the opposite. I walk in my first conversation with you, for the most part, you're going to find out exactly what I am, whether you want to know or not, because I want to make sure you know, so that we can just move forward and you ain't tripping. Okay.
Yeah, you're not going to take up the evening playing 20 questions.
Exactly. Or you having the idea and going down that lane, and me watching you go down that lane and go, nah, boo, that ain't it. So, but there are people, I think, who are, and again, this isn't good or bad, who are Pheno-Fluid, right? And who deliberately play on the fact, take advantage of the fact, use it to their advantage, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I would love this. I don't have the budget for the clothing to make this possible at the moment. I don't have the budget to be Pheno-Fluid, but as a person who is kind of on the gender fluid spectrum and on the sexuality fluid spectrum, I'm all about shape shifting. Like I'm all about shape shifting.
I'm writing it down.
It's not an accident I call myself Sir Auntie, because that's the vibes. I am Sir and an auntie. I'm not a ma'am and an uncle. It's very clear what my vibes are. As a Black and Japanese person, even on my most Japanese day, I'm Black. You know what I'm saying? Like it's on my most Black day, I'm black. On my most Japanese day, I'm black. Like
Yes.
the blackness is the core
Yep.
culture, the core identity. It's just present. It's just the way that it is for me. I just
That's how it
happen
is.
to look this way that I look.
Yep.
And when I dress certain ways, it's clear that the kind of black that I am. Not that I'm black, but the kind of black that I am. You know, good black person.
Yep. Same.
All that stuff ends up becoming clear, especially if you can see the signs because you come from the same environment or you just understand the community.
Exactly.
I don't have a Japanese equivalent to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my current budget, in my current wardrobe, I don't have.
If money were no object, let's play with this, y'all.
Yeah.
What would the equivalent be? Because you didn't grow up in Japan.
I didn't grow up in Japan. I have my childhood kimono, but it's it was a special occasion thing for me because my family didn't want it ruined, and so I only got to wear it a few times. I didn't get to wear it like at home or anything like that. I only got to wear it for special things. And so it felt like, oh gosh, I just had a realization. Therapy. I just realized that, like, I just said on my most Japanese day, I was always black, right? I just said those words. And then I just realized that I only got to be in my traditional Japanese attire on special occasions. So I was only Japanese on special occasions. But I'm black every day.
So, okay, no, money's no object, y'all. Y'all do some donations, give to the Patreon.
So if money's no object,
would you in today's world, with your life currently as it is, if you were to get a traditional Japanese outfit or even just a kimono,
I would wear yukatas if they're not too hot. I would wear. I honestly, I think I would wear more Japanese attire in my home, and probably as a reflection of the way that I was brought up, because home behaviors that I have are very Japanese.
Right.
Inside the home behaviors I have are very Japanese. Outside in the world behaviors I have are very black. So if my attire could always reflect both or multiple of my cultures, it would probably be like a Japanese top with like jeans or something like that. That isn't necessarily explicitly black, but I'd be wearing Jordans or something like that. Like things that you would indicate a cultural mix between there. It's the same with my if I had the budget to be as genderly fluid as presentation wise as I feel on the inside, I would be wearing male suits that are cut for a woman's form.
So somebody out there, Maine has just described some amazing entrepreneurial and creative opportunities. Let's talk about Project Runway. And I know we want to, by the way, y'all, can I do a shout out? Because we both been, okay, so we have a fellow mixed auntie who is, beyond brilliant and multi-talented.
She's doing big things.
Mixed auntie, we call her Mixed Auntie Mogul Mama. Sonia Mixed Auntie Mogul Mama, Sonia Smith-Kane, who has, y'all hit this up right now, Mixed Up Clothing.
Mixed Up Clothing.
There's a children's clothing line. We want to go here and we will tag her in the episode so she can beat us up. We've been bugging her ever since she announced the creation of this line for the adult version.
Like I want the adult line because she has like I remember telling her when I first met her, she had this kimono top for little girls that had like a Colombian pattern on it. And because that's what she does, she plays with like different cultural fabrics and different cuts from different cultures and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's Mixed Up Clothing. It's awesome. It's at Macy's. Awesome. It's also mixedupclothing.com. But when I saw that, I was like, I would rock that. That's basically like a yukata type thing that I was describing. Like, I would rock that shit all the time.
Okay,
if I had the adult equivalent.
Understand, we out here.
We out here.
And we would support you. Darling.
And like I would like to play with fabric, especially as I start to learn to make more clothes as soon as I get my sewing machine here. I would want to play with fabrics, like Sonia does in her work, where like if I'm wearing a Japanese style top, I would put it in a mud cloth or something like that, where I could play with the fabric against what the thing is. It is my absolute fucking dream to have, I think they call them wakatas, or the company was called Wakata or something like that, which is a kimono line that is made from African fabrics. There is one out there. I've seen them. They're amazing and beautiful. It is my absolute dream to be able to have things like that for those events where I'm having to be professionally mixed out there, you know, where I could be, this is a reflective of multiple things. And mostly because while I do know which villages and which tribes I come from, my family comes from in Gabon, I don't have a Gabonese history, you know, culture. I have the ancestry, not the culture. And so while I would want to reflect it in some way, shape, or form, I don't think I have the flip of it. Like whatever.
But you can research it.
I could research it. It would have to be for a special thing. I couldn't probably rock it in a day-to-day because I was actually raised in a home Japanese culture, but I wasn't actually raised in like a Koda culture or something like that. So I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't want to be, I would want to be respectful, appreciative, not appropriative, learning, educating, you know, like those types of things. But yeah, absolutely. If I had the opportunity to wear clothes that were fabric wise a reflection of one culture and shape wise a reflection of another, that would be like the most ideal thing. And it would help with the whole be your mixed ass life, right? Like it would be like, I am literally all the things today, and here's my outfit reflecting it.
Okay, y'all, please donate. Also donate to Be Your Mixed Ass and politics first, and then next. No. Let's all support me. I think we should do a whole thing for this because since you can sew.
Yeah, I haven't made proper outfits yet. You
can also commission somebody. Okay, somebody out there holler, because somebody out there can do this. And I think it would be phenomenal and amazing. I just want to put it in the world. So we've got Pheno-Divergent, Pheno-Non-Conforming, and Pheno-Fluid.
These are all interesting. I think I definitely want to hear what the audience has to say.
Yeah, y'all got to weigh in.
If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify actually does allow you to be a little bit more interactive. So you can answer questions that I post, or you can contribute, you can send over voicemails to me and everything like that. So if you're listening to the show, but you're not listening to it on the Spotify platform, jump on over to the Spotify platform to interact, if you don't mind, or hit it in the comments or you know, whatever on the Instagrams and stuff. Because I think as we've been talking about how much language has developed over the last few years, as we've had more opportunities as to be publicly mixed, militantly mixed, other podcasts, IG accounts, Mask and Loving Day, and all the different things that are out there for us right now, our language has adapted quickly.
Yes.
To the new ways in which people are identifying. And this might be one of those types of things. I think
we should play with it. I think we mixed folks should play with it. I think we mixed folks should be in charge of it. Remember I said about agency and empowerment? Yeah. I think we mixed folks should be the only ones, I'm just going to say this, I mean it, 100% in charge of this.
Yeah.
And these terms. And then we really want to hear from you all. Is this like, nah, y'all doing too much? Or is this like, you know, I like that? I mean, well, we both are regular.
Yeah, like it might be a term. There might be one of these terms someone really likes. A lot of it might be like, oh gosh, with the language already, you know, like it could be that.
Right.
But I 100% cannot stand, like, if I'm sitting here being honest, I fucking cannot stand when a monoracial person calls me racially ambiguous.
Now, see, that's interesting. I call myself racially ambiguous. First of all, it's a
easy to call yourself racially ambiguous to help the conversation.
Yeah, I've never had a monoracial person call me. They just like,
oh, it happens all the time to me. They'll be like, oh,
you just call me weird looking.
It'll be some form of it too. Like there's that also. There's that weird like, oh, you look different, or I don't see that, or like you get that too. But every now and then. And sometimes it comes off as an attempt to flirt, which
God, that's
where it's like, oh, you that racially.
That's a whole episode, baby.
Yeah, so that'll be a whole nother thing. But I don't want so
creepy.
I want the burden of defining myself. And I want the agency.
So guess what? Well, first of all, here's what y'all, just so you know, and I will report back. Okay. So just so y'all know, remember, no, seriously. So, and get my wonderful memoir, Swirl Girl Coming of Race in the USA, on Amazon. My memoir, but here's the backstory on this. So all my life, y'all, Okay, if I could sing, I'd make it into a blues song. All my life, I've always answered, "What are you?" And that's what I get asked every once in a while. Where are you from? When people are trying to be cute. Also, what nationality? And then I cuss them out and say, "Look, I got an American passport, fool. You know what you really want to know." But anyway, so you know, I have no tact, but I always have preemptive strike. You know, yeah, I'm Black, Jewish, some Native American, da da da. What do you want to know? You know, da da da. Only Jewish people, for the most part, by the way, want to know which parent, because Jewish identity, historically and typically, it is changing now because so many Jewish men mix out. But it's straight up. If it's your mommy, you're Jewish. If it's your dad, you're not. So y'all, I'm going to try something. So when I started working on my memoir, which came out in 2020, I started working on it really in 2015. Yes, it took 5 years. It's a good read. Get it. But I worked hard to make it a good read. But on the real, I decided, and you know, at that time, I'm 60 something, my early 60s. I was like, and I didn't even consciously decide. I decided I was no longer answering the question unless I had to. Sometimes you have to. You're at customs, you're in immigration, you're in a situation. You know, we all know how to read, whether it's an option, you know, or a requirement. Let's be real. But I'm like, you know, if it's an elective, I'm not going to do it. And I was thrilled with myself because I was like, I don't know what that's going to be like. Like, I've been doing it so reflexively since I could talk.
Yeah.
For, you know, 6 decades that, you know, I couldn't even imagine not doing it. I would just, people would say, "Are you F?" And I'd say no. And I'd shut up. Y'all, you know what a motor mouth I am. That was, usually I go, "No, I'm not going to do it." I'm right. I said, "No." And then I said, "Oh, girl, you just shutting up." And fascinating responses. But what I'm going to do now, so I have, you know, so for years, I would say for about 6-7 years, I haven't answered the question, but except for when I have to. But I'm going to start playing with these terms, y'all. And I'm going to start recording the reactions I get. If I don't record on my phone, then I'll record it in a way. So I want to promise, I don't know if you want to try the same thing, Maney.
Well, the problem is I can't really try it here because they don't talk about stuff like that here.
Okay.
Remember, I'm having
you got to back together with Black expats. Did anybody ask anything?
No, all of them pretty much accept me as Black, and they're like, it's not like they don't know. A few of them will have asked questions about, like, you know,
which parent,
how was it for you, kind of a thing.
Right.
It's more thoughtful, empathetic questions that I received than anything just like, what's going on with you and how dare you call yourself Black. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I wish something. Anyway, yeah. So okay, y'all, I will take it for the team. Of course, I haven't been getting that much to spend, but when I get out, of course, then I got a mask on. But anyway, should it happen again, I will start playing with these words, and I'll also start using them proactively to see what kind of responses I get. And I will report back. It might be a while, but I will document and report back for everybody. Okay.
So I think, yes, and I don't want to, you know, stretch it beyond its
but I think I know this is
there is something about both the changing of language and being thoughtful about the way in which we change language. So something like what we're playing with here, Pheno-Divergent, Pheno-Non-Conforming, Pheno-Fluid, what we're actively trying to do, and again, just in real time, because we just decided to talk about this today, what we're actively trying to do is find a term that is saying what is happening, and not necessarily putting the burden on us as a performance of our presentation. We're not doing this. It's been done. It happened when the chromosomes started to click, 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 click. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't have a choice. So this is not an action on my part. I am not actively being ambiguous. I just happen to confuse you when you look at me.
Woo.
I'm not doing the confusing. You're confused. So in trying to own my presentation, I guess is what I'm trying to say, for us as mixed people who would be classified as ambiguous, to try to own our presentation, you know, again, and I know I overquote this man, but Ryan Alexander Holmes fucking nailed it in one. It's not that I don't look Asian. It's that you've never seen an Asian that looks like me before. And then you can apply that across the board. You know, like, you can apply that across race, you can apply that across gender, you can apply that across all kinds of things. I am a Black mixed Asian person. However you perceive me, that's on you. But what I am doing is just existing. So if I don't conform to your expectations of my phenotypes, or if I'm divergent from your expectations of phenotypes, that is on you, not on me. Now, would I actively be Pheno-Fluid? Fuck yeah, I would actively be Pheno-Fluid. You know what I'm saying? If I had the budget, I'm actively out here messing with what you think. But Pheno-Divergent, Pheno-Non-Conforming, that is about the perceiver, not about the perceived. And I think that's what is important as we start to try to look for new language to describe the experience we have when someone perceives us.
Love that. And what we're doing is, to me, offering a bridge, so to speak, between where the perceiver is and where we are as the perceived, but we are taking ownership. Again, we're back to agency, empowerment of the conversation, because we all know that dynamic with the what are you, where are you from, where are you really from? There's a whole dynamic there, and we're often being alpha, microaggressions, et cetera, even when it's just straight up. Even when the questions are just sincere and they're just really trying to place us, there's too much history for it to be a truly neutral question, right? So I like what you just said. That was completely brilliant and wonderful, and I agree completely. And it's us taking ownership and acknowledging. I'm acknowledging that you look at me and you can't tell.
Yeah,
I'm acknowledging that. That's up until me. I've said light skin. I've said light skin and racially ambiguous. So the fact that I say light skin should let you know I'm black, but also
right, yeah, like,
racially ambiguous looking, and so blah blah blah. But like you're saying, I love what you just said. I think what we're doing, what we're proposing here, right, playing with these terms. So please, y'all, let us know what you think and play with them yourselves when you're out in the world.
Report back, operatives. Tell us what it's like out there on the streets.
Let's start a whole movement of mixed folks experimenting with this terminology. Report back. I liked it. It didn't quite work. I think I'm 2 of the 3. I think I'm all 3. I don't know what. And also offer your own definitions and applications
in your own words. Yeah, there's other things, people
other terms. I mean, I think this is definitely a family, collective, and collaborative project, but I think we should do it. And we've all got our own media, and we could share it and tag us. And so, like I said, I will report back. I'll put it on my socials and put it on my blog and say, okay, y'all, like this. But I think what you're saying is really important. It's that this is a way for us to take ownership and agency and to balance the power dynamic that inherently exists when people are questioning or challenging our identities, when people are, and when they're policing our identities. We're pushing back on the identity police, and we're also just saying, okay, yeah, I'm Pheno. No. I mean, I can't wait to look at somebody and go, I'm Pheno-Non-Conforming. First of all, they're gonna be, what is Pheno? Because nobody but mixed people and Black people use phenotype.
I was just about to say that. I never hear, like, I've started to hear it in Asian spaces more as I've entered more Asian activism spaces or whatever. Okay, but it's still not nearly said as often as it's said in Black spaces or mixed Black spaces.
And in Black spaces, let's be straight up, it's used when describing us mixed people.
Right, absolutely. Because you got the Black phenotypes.
Yeah. And we don't conform to the pheno. That's a whole.
It's a whole nother thing. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. This was fun. I'm glad that we did this on the fly, because honestly, this was a reflection of how our conversations go. This just happens to be like, usually we've had the conversation partially, and then we're like, let's go ahead and press record on this thing and get it going. This one was straight up a single sentence in a text message exchange, followed by, is this what we're talking about today?
Wait a minute. And today.
Yes.
Or yesterday.
Or literally, is this what we're talking about today? And so like we played it out. It's like, this is how our conversations go when we're talk offline. Because a lot of times when we talk, we're not recording. We only record once a month. So we're just out here, multiple times a month having this kind of conversation. But before we get out here, so we have technically closed the submissions for the Be Your Mixed Self anthology again. we still had some room, so we wanted to make some space for new entries, and we did. We got some new entries during this last month. So thank you to everybody who's participating. We are now going into the reading and reviewing section again. And so the updates will start to come as we get closer into the publishing and nailing things down type of thing. But you can still donate to the project if you would like to help us get it off the ground by going to militantlymixed.com and clicking on the Be Your Mixed SF Anthology tab. And there is a button there to donate to the project. That being said, if you like almost finished some shit and the deadline hit,
slide it.
Just send us an email. We'll see. We'll see what happens. There's time. There's room.
But y'all, the stuff we've got is fire.
Yeah, and coming from like so many different topics, not even just like perspectives, because obviously that's going to be the case as a militantly mixed. We're all mixed as fuck, but like. Without giving anything away, like there is an academic slant, there is a workplace slant, there is a living the life walking down the street slant. There is literally all types of topics coming into this thing. And like we left it broad. So we really just the mix is pretty much the main part of it, and how people decided to take that on was pretty amazing. So
it is delicious, y'all.
Thank you again, everybody who's participated, and for the people who've continued to ask and get excited about it, even if you weren't going to be a submitter. This is an exciting project for 2023, and I'm looking forward to finally being able to get it out to everybody. And other than that, to everybody out there, mixed aunties, we're out. Be your mixed ass self. See you next month.
Smooches.
Militantly Mixed is a Main Hustle Media podcast, produced and hosted by me, Sharmane Fury. Music is by David Bogan the One. You can follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Militantly Mixed. If you'd like to become a sponsor of Militantly Mixed, please go to patreon.com/militantlymixed for monthly sponsorship, or paypal.me/militantlymixed for a one-time only donation. And if you like what you hear on Militantly Mixed, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to be your mixed ass self.
Main Hustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.